How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ethan Bridge and I'm host of the Social Media Marketing School podcast and the guy behind the Instagram page at The Marketing Ethan. Now, throughout my journey on Instagram, I have consumed a lot of content. I've also produced a lot of content, but I have consumed way more. And there are some commonalities that I see between the posts that succeed and the posts that underperform. And the one reason the majority of posts fail on Instagram is because their headlines suck. The headline just isn't good enough. And that's because your headline is the thing that grabs the attention of your audience, especially me being someone who creates carousels on the platform. Carousels are, if you don't know and you're fairly new to this podcast, a type of post on Instagram where you can scroll through various different slides as you consume the piece of content. But with a carousel, that very first slide is normally almost like a cover, a headline slide with a powerful headline, essentially. Now, a lot of people will rush their headlines. They'll just think of the first thing that comes to mind and put it on their design. And that's not the thing you should be doing. Your headline needs to be really thought out. It needs to be structured and it needs to have some sort of strategy behind it. You can't just post something randomly and hope it grabs attention. The attention span on social media is tiny. You've got to think, as people scroll through their feed, you are competing amongst hundreds, thousands of pieces of content. Why should they stop on your piece of content rather than just scroll straight past it and on to the next? The only way that you will get people to stop and consume your piece of content is with a powerful headline. This is with anything. It could be translated into a Twitter post, at the start of a TikTok, the headline on your LinkedIn post, your title of your YouTube video. Any of these things are going to grab the attention of the people that could potentially consume that piece of content. So if your headline isn't powerful, eye-catching, thought-provoking, then nobody's going to want to consume that piece of content. So don't rush it. You need to make sure it is powerful. Now, I have a formula for my headlines. There is a step-by-step process that I follow so that I can make sure all of my headlines are worthwhile. All of my headlines will grab the attention of people scrolling through the feed. Do some perform better than others? Of course they do. Could some of my headlines been better? Absolutely. I am not perfect when it comes to this thing, but over time I have improved and I have been able to analyze what works and what doesn't work so that I can then optimize my strategy accordingly. But enough rambling. You probably want to hear the strategy that I use to formulate my headlines. Now, there are three things, in my opinion, that your headline needs to include. Number one, a valuable promise. What is that person going to achieve if they read through your piece of content? That is what your headline needs to tell them. Number two, you need to tease the value. For example, how to, ways to, tools to, do this, don't do that, how you can do this. That is teasing the type of post, the structure of the post, and how people are going to be consuming it. But it's teasing the value because it goes before point number three, showcasing the benefit. How to grow followers on Instagram. How to grow your following on Instagram. How to make viral content. How to grab attention with your headlines. It's simple. But points 2 and 3, teasing the value and showcasing the benefit, combine together to make point number 1, which is your valuable promise. How to grab attention with your headlines. They are finding out how to grab attention through headlines, and now they know what they can expect to learn if they consume the rest of your content. You are promising them a lesson. And then once they've read that piece of content, they will benefit as a result. But if you are doing these three things, you will grab the attention of people scrolling through your feed. You don't want just a random quote or a few words that you've taken within the post. Think about this. things that obviously perform better on Instagram than others, especially in my niche, are how to hack the algorithm, how to grow your following, how to increase your engagement. These are common titles that are used all the time, but they perform well because people love a quick hack here and there and obviously want to improve their following. But when you get to more niche style content and you get to more complicated, intricate things that should be considered when you are creating content on social media, for example, how to grab attention, you need to get a little bit more thoughtful with what you are writing down. Because I could have easily called this podcast episode How to Grab Attention with Your Headlines. But I thought about this and I thought, okay, yeah, that's good. People are going to want to consume that. But how can I entice that interest a little bit more? And that's why I'm going to call it the number one reason content fails. The number one reason is the bit where I'm teasing the value, and content fails is the benefit that they are going to get by consuming the piece of content. The valuable promise then becomes them learning the one reason why content fails. So when you are thinking of your headlines, I wouldn't just go with the first thing that you come up with. I would look through, I'd write down 5 potential headline ideas, because the first one won't be the best. You'll think of something and you'll go, okay, that's all right, that'll do. But then if you actually think about it again, come up with some different options, you can then analyze these 5 different headlines or 10 different headlines, however many you want to come up with, and then pick the best, because you will find that it's probably the 4th, 5th, or maybe even 6th headline that you come up with is actually the best one. And it may not necessarily direct to the piece of content that you're producing. It could be a little clickbaity. For example, I know the headline for this podcast episode was, you aren't gaining all the facts from this headline. So I'm also leaving a little bit of mystery behind it, because you want to know the number one reason posts fail, but you don't know what that reason is unless you click on the video. Whereas if I put it as how to grab attention with headlines, yeah, pretty good headline, entices you because you want to know how to grab attention with headlines, but there's no mystery there. So you could add that extra layer, that extra element that further entices people into wanting to watch your video or consume your piece of content, whatever it may be. So let's just quickly recap the 3 different things your headline needs to include. I know this was a very, very short podcast episode, but I think it's a really, really important one to think about. So number 1, you need to have a valuable promise. What are people going to learn if they consume that piece of content? Number 2, you need to tease the value. How to, then the benefit. Tools to, then the benefit. Do this to get, then the benefit. And then you need to showcase the benefit. And that's where you can have, for example, increase engagement, get more followers, grab attention, make better content. And then you can see how those 2 latter points combine together to form your valuable promise for what people are going to learn if they consume that piece of content. Simple as that. And that wraps up today's episode on the number one reason content fails on Instagram. And that wraps up today's video. If you did enjoy, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turned on post notifications. That way you will never miss a video when I post one. But I did just want to mention that this is a part of my podcast series, Social Media Marketing School, and the audio version of the podcast is the place to be, because I actually release this content a little bit sooner over there than I do here on YouTube. So I'm going to leave some links in the description below. So make sure you head down there and subscribe. But if you've got any questions with regards to anything that I've mentioned, please just reach out to me on Instagram at @themarketingethan. Send me a DM and I'll make sure I get back to you no matter what. But I did just want to finish off by saying, if you have made it to this point in the video, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.